So I want to talk a little bit about hormones.
Yeah.
I know that's something you're very passionate about,
hmm
Terry and Eunice. I'm not sure if you've dabbled in that or not, but we can talk about it. One of the reasons because I can testify how much it impacted my life,
hmm
and I know several pastors that I can't say their names. I guess I could, but you can't.
hmm
Uh, but it my hormone levels were so off,
hmm
and Michelle's were off. I think I can say that. It helped our marriage. It helped
Oh
me be
yeah.
a better pastor.
Yeah.
Um, I was so fatigued. I was so
hmm
exhausted all the time, and come to find out my hormones were way
hmm
off, and how that impacted me so greatly. And so I think it's important for people to know.
Yep.
Yes, you need to clean up your eating. Yes, you need to do all the things we've talked about, all the hormone. I mean, all the gut health, all that stuff. But there may be something at the root of even some of that that could be some of your
Absolutely.
hormones. So let's chat about that for a second.
Yeah. So sometimes, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but um, well, let's just talk about what you touched on, and as we age, and um, taking out hormone disruptors and all the food and stuff. Let's just talk about general loss of
Aging,
hormones
yeah,
from aging. So men lose about 10% per year of their testosterone production starting after about age 30. It's accelerated these days because of our lifestyle
yep,
and not sleeping.
yep.
Everything we've already said. So we do see much greater rates of acceleration of testosterone loss in our current society. But on average, that happens. And in their 40s, guys are kind of starting to lose a little bit more and getting a little more achy and tired. And the biggest thing most guys present with initially is there is fatigue and brain fog and can't focus
Yep.
and hitting a wall at 2 to 4 in the afternoon and not sleeping through the night. These are big symptoms of testosterone insufficiency.
Yep.
And then females, the ovaries, the inner core of the female ovary actually makes testosterone. And it's the first hormone we start to lose. And it really starts to happen after that second baby.
Hmm.
And women will say, after that second baby, I couldn't bounce back. I didn't have any energy. I couldn't lose weight. I was depressed. I was moody. I had no interest in intimacy, all of those things. If they haven't had children by the time they're 30, women lose 50% per year in their 30s. We've lost from
Golly.
30 to 40, we've lost greater than 50% of our testosterone
Wow.
production. And then in the 40s, then we lose progesterone. This is the natural decline for women. 30s testosterone, 40s progesterone,
Hmm.
and then 50s estrogen. So hormone decline happens a lot younger. I mean, you're young. Michelle's young.
Thank you for saying that. I
Yes, you
appreciate
are.
you
You're
saying that.
not.
Did
You're
everyone hear that?
yes. So for you, you already mentioned it. You just kind of weren't. You just weren't your best, and it was a
Yeah.
struggle for you to get up and do the things that you are called to do
I
every
could still
day.
function, but it wasn't
Yeah.
at the level, and
Yeah.
it took
Or the
way more
excitement,
energy. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's thousands of receptors for androgens or testosterone in the areas of our brain that's responsible for mood and thinking and mental clarity and focus. And anytime there's a cell with a receptor, it's needs whatever that
It
receptor is
needs to
for to
receive
function,
something.
right? Exactly. And so as testosterone declines in men and women, those are the symptoms typically that come with it. Now, a lot of people miss it. They think that testosterone is just a male hormone and it's just
Yep.
all about sex drive. Can I say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
And
very happy about
yes,
that word here.
exactly. And that's the last thing in a guy to go, if ever. So, and it's not going to a
It's
lot
the
of
first
women.
thing to go in a woman, though.
It's the first thing to go in a woman and the last thing to go in a guy. Yes. So the pain points for women are weight, and men is sexual function. Those are
Yeah.
the
Let's just
those are
call
the
a
two
spade a
things.
spade.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So it does play a role in that, but it's actually there's a lot more vague, symptoms that present. So a lot of times, yes, clean up your diet, turn your phone off, all of those things. But sometimes people can't even wrap their brain around that because they're not
Mm.
even getting the hormone firing
Yeah.
that they need to even wrap their brain around being healthy. What I see a lot is I'll get hormones optimized and then patients are feeling better and then they're ready to go.
They're
Okay, what
ready to go
next?
do what the.
I'm ready. What do you have for me now?
Mm.
I'm still, I want to lose some weight or I still don't quite have the energy or the strength. And then we
Mm.
layer things in. Well, let's look at your diet. Let's
That's
look at
good.
your gut.
Like a scaffolding.
Yeah. So you got to address people with their, biggest pain point first.
Mm.
And so that's what I found has been very successful in our clinical practice. And I had another, I treat a lot of pastors and a lot of kingdom builders.
Yep.
And, I had one patient one time that he was literally ready to retire
Yep.
early, throw in the towel. He was done,
Yep.
and somebody had said, you should probably get your hormones checked. And, so, he told me when he sat down, he goes, no pressure, but this better work,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay.
Well, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
And it
so
changed his
was
life. I mean, it's
life-changing.
amazing.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
has a lot of work to do still on this
Absolutely.
earth for the kingdom, and so that's where what drives my passion is. Sometimes it's a simple thing like that. Now, not everybody wants to do all the other things,
Yeah.
but my job is to educate, and we have free will, right?
Well, and one of the areas that you hadn't hit on yet, but I know is a big part of the ministry of what you guys do is marriages. I mean, how
relationship.
many marriages
yeah.
have you saved?
Oh.
I mean,
I don't even know. I mean, I can't tell you how many. Seriously, husbands sending thank you cards, flowers. Thank you for
Yeah.
giving me my wife back.
yeah. I mean, men, we're pretty easy creatures to figure out,
Mhm.
and one of our biggest needs is physical
Yeah,
touch
physical
and
touch.
intimacy,
Yep.
and so if you can, not to, like Eunice was saying earlier, we believe in miracles. We can pray for that. We can
That's
pray
right.
for those sort of things to happen, and we're not opposed to that. But men have needs, women have needs, and
Right.
if those needs aren't being met, it's bad. Bad things
The
happen.
biggest breakdown I see, and it honestly really does come from the female side. And I love women. I am one. But we're very unique creatures, and we're very sensitive to all the hormones. And when it's really challenging because when our hormones start to decline, which happens much younger than men, we get depressed, we get moody, we get anxious, we don't want intimacy, we're snapping. I have patients that say I'm angry all the time, and I don't even understand why I'm angry, and it causes relationship strife.
Absolutely.
And then you're angry and moody and naggy and fighting all the time, and you're withholding intimacy. That's like
Yeah.
a double whammy in
It's a
a
formula
relationship.
for disaster.
It's disaster. And so, yes, I love marriage ministry, and we can pray into and have get Christian counseling and coaching, and all of those things are a necessary part of a plan to restore a marriage. But if you're not looking at some of the basic things
Yep.
like hormone optimization, you're missing a key part of it, because it's like you're just going to white knuckle through, but you're not really fixing part of the root cause that
Yeah.
caused all this in the first place.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many couples have said, we are experiencing a second honeymoon.
Mm.
I mean, restoring that intimacy. And these are couples in their 50s and 60s that are like, wow, we haven't had this since we got married in our 20s, And so it really can be life-changing. And it's not just with your spouse, it's with your children. I've had, daughters of mothers going, wow, thank you, because my
Yes.
mom, we
The
have
relationship.
not wanted to be around her for a decade.
Yeah.
So yeah, very relationship changing.
So good.
It's relationship changing, and I think when we don't address things like hormones as such an open door for the enemy.
Oh, for
Yes.
sure.
I myself, like every month, right before my period, can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that. It's weird for me, but you can say that.
I would get depressed.
Yeah.
And like I had nothing to be
Wow.
depressed about.
Right.
And I started like reflecting and just kind of just being introspective. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a pattern. Why am I like this every month? And I realized like it's hormonal. It's
Wow.
according to my menstrual cycle that right before your period, you're at the lowest point in your hormones, progesterone, estrogen,
And
And-
testosterone.
and testosterone. And what happens, especially when you're low on progesterone's like our natural Valium. It helps us to
Calming.
feel calm, relaxed. It also helps with not just calm and relaxed, but also helps not be depressed.
Wow.
And so I was like, I know what's wrong with me. I'm going to put myself on a progesterone supplement, like Chase Tree Supreme. I don't know if you've
Absolutely.
heard of that. Yeah. And my husband thanked me. He's like, this is what was wrong with you all these years.
Wow.
And what happened is like when we're low on those hormones, like we get angry, we get irritable. And like, what does that do? That is an open door
It's
for
a
the
seed
enemy.
for the fruit of
Yes.
fighting and everything
And
else. Yeah.
I've corrected progesterone deficiencies on people, and they're like, I'm no longer suicidal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And how many suicidal people,
Wow.
if they would just get checked in and like check on
That's so
hormones,
good.
they don't.
they would no longer have intrusive thoughts or suicidal ideation.
Yep.
And it's an easy fix.
Mhm.
You know,
Wow.
get yourself checked out.
Yep.
You're worth it. You have purpose here on this earth. You know, it
That's right.
can save your life.
Wow.
It can, and you can only be, you can only show up to the world as much as you're showing up to yourself.
That's right.
Like
That's so
love
good.
others as you love yourself.
Mm.
You know,
Yep.
and so we have to.
But I think there's such an ignorance there. There's a lack of education because I
Right.
think when most people hear hormone therapy, they think sex.
Mhm.
Maybe men.
Men think sex, women think hot flashes.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it's so much more than
It's
that.
so
Because
much
those are
more.
the two things that kind of start to happen, and
Yeah.
not everybody has those two things. But you touched on something really important about an open door for the enemy. The
Mhm.
other side of not addressing hormones when there's relationship strife
Mhm.
isn't just to continue to create division between couples, but create one or both of those couples seeking peace and companionship outside the marriage.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that
Oh,
I
wow.
see a lot,
Wow.
unfortunately.
Wow.
If they're not getting what they need from their spouse,
Correct.
it opens a
Yeah.
door.
And then the enemy
Yeah.
starts to play on that, and it's like, see, you should talk to
Mm.
this person because this person is this, and
Yep.
you
They can meet that
you've
need.
fallen out of love with your
Wow.
spouse. The
Wow.
enemy works
He's an
in
opportunist.
there. He's an
Yeah.
opportunist, and so and
Mm.
I have,
Mm.
we have had patients that literally have had divorce papers.
Wow.
This one couple comes to mind that they had filed for divorce.
Mm.
They were separated, living separate, and the wife had listened to one of our webinars, and she asked her
Wow.
husband, "Will you please just let's do this together. Let's get our hormones checked." And 6 weeks later, they were
Oh my gosh.
totally new couple, like ripping up divorce papers, and so, and that's an extreme
Wow.
example, but it does happen,
It
and
does.
so get that door that the enemy creeps through when we're
Yeah.
not our best can either be dividing us in many ways
Mm.
Yeah.
is point number point number
Yes.
one. And then the other point I was going to make about looking at making sure you're understanding the importance of hormones is just the brain function. I mean,
Mm.
there's so much hormonal impact on the brain. And let's talk about disease prevention for a minute.
Mm.
We know that estrogen is a powerful anti-inflammatory and what we call an immunomodulator. So it enhances the immune system. So we know now that estrogen prevents Alzheimer's disease in women,
Wow.
strokes, mitigates injury from a stroke. What we found is at the level of a stroke and a heart attack, there's a rapid local production of estrogen in the area of the injury.
Hmm.
And so we know that these hormones actually have another role
Wow.
outside just helping us feel good, but for repair and recovery. There's a great study that came out in 2023, just this year, that showed they did an MRI on a female going through perimenopause, which is when the woman's ovaries are fluctuating and her estrogen is, starting to wind down.
Mhm.
And for they did it at baseline, and then 3 years postmenopausally. In 3 years, just 3 years without estrogen, she already the frontal lobe of the brain was already lighting up with what's called beta amyloid deposition, and that's a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
She wasn't symptomatic yet, but it was all those brain changes were happening already in the brain.
That's
that
crazy.
fast. So we know that testosterone in men there's a direct, what we call an inverse relationship between testosterone and cardiovascular disease. So when your testosterone's low, your risk of heart disease goes up. When your testosterone's low, your risk of all-cause mortality or any cause of death goes up. When your testosterone is low in men, your risk of prostate cancer goes up.
Wow.
So there's these inverse relationships, which tells you these molecules are powerfully anti-inflammatory, because we already said inflammation is the root of all diseases. Cardiovascular disease is not a disease of cholesterol. Let's start
Say
there.
that again.
Really? That's what's always been touted, right?
It's all
Gosh.
about inflammation. And you know what we're seeing now is massive Alzheimer's disease units and buildings and structures being built because it's so prevalent in our society, and families
My
are looking
gosh.
for homes.
It's so
And
sad.
My
there's a
gosh.
direct
Yeah.
correlation between the increase in Alzheimer's disease in this country and statin use.
Oh my gosh, that's where I was going to
What's
go.
statin?
Statin is a
Cholesterol
cholesterol lowering agent. And what I
Okay.
was going to say is when cholesterol is the backbone of our hormones.
Yeah.
if you look at how hormones are made, whether it's insulin or cortisol, DHEA, pregnenolone, right above that is cholesterol. So
The
you
precursor.
need cholesterol to have all of these
my
important
gosh.
hormones. And a lot of times when I fix the cholesterol issue by giving good cholesterol,
Mm-hmm.
people's hormones will naturally kind of fix itself.
Improve,
Yeah.
yeah.